Administrative procedures for council action.
Yes, this is something that just keep moving in the city. I thought that we should either have a policy or perhaps just an agreement amongst mayor and council of how we're going to proceed with things going forward. When I first got on council, we had a policy in place where in order to bring something before council, we brought it to the work session. Then it went to a meeting, it went 2 readings at a first and second with an action item. It went afterwards discussed at the work session. I think that's what other cities do. And I'd like to see that happen here. Even to the point of like nominations for office. There's no reason those can't be discussed in a work session. I'd like to see them come to a work session, then get put on an agenda for following meeting so that they can be better and we can discuss them. And I'd like to, along with that, I'd like to see all the applications that the city receives brought or given out to council either at the meeting or as they're received. I know that as we campaigned this past year, or this past fall, we've got a lot of people who want to be involved and get involved in the city. And we're going to have a lot of applications coming in. And I think it's our duty to make sure that we review all those applications and pick the best person we possibly can to fill our good council positions. And not, I think it's time that we did the judicial thing, and we know who we're dealing with, and we talk to them, and that we pick the best person for each administrative seat. A perfect example is the DDA. I've been on the DDA for 4 years. I can say that in the last 4 months, the DDA has done 3 times what they accomplished in the 3 years prior to that. I think part of the reason is that they got good people on that board that are willing to work. I wouldn't want to mess up the deck by putting someone in there who's not going to be working with them, or someone who may not understand what all is involved and not show up to meetings. We do have one case of that on the DDA right now. So I think that for us to be efficient, that we should bring things to the work session and then bring it to the council for voting. I think that should happen on all things that are going to come up for voting. Council, including nominations, including policies, including just about everything we do.
Concerns are noted. We do have that policy. I think Councilman Whitaker made it when she was on council before. But the charter says that anyone, including a citizen, can put something on an agenda at any time.
Yes, we can.
So even though that's a policy, and try to follow it and pass, although I know things have been added to the agenda. Even after the close of business on Tuesday, they still were having things added to this agenda. As far as nominations are concerned, I think the policy is when I don't know I haven't received any applications other than the ones I've provided to council. So I think that staff is sending out applications as they are received. But the nomination is the mayor's decision, and so I'll continue to review those and put people up as I see fit.
Okay, but not all nominations are mayor's nominations. Anything that goes past 60 days, for instance, right now they're council nominations, so they're not exclusively the mayor's nominations. So then all council should be able to.
I think that's a legal issue that hopefully will resolve soon.
Well, and be that as it may, I don't think anyone's arguing that when a board position first comes open, the mayor has the nomination power. I think it behooves everyone to be working together to know who the mayor would like to put up, why she would like to put them up, and give the council members who choose to have an opportunity to actually talk with the applicants. And it's not, I realize you said that 2 of these applicants are going to be here tonight, but for me, I'm not comfortable asking a perfect stranger the questions and talking with them and having the conversation that I would like to have specifically about the DDA appointment and the URA appointment in front of 30 or 40 people. It's just not a,
There is no DDA appointment on tonight's agenda. There are 2 URA appointments. But you guys did receive if you want to start receiving the agenda packets earlier than Thursday, let me finish. I wholeheartedly support that. But you did receive their applications with their phone numbers and their emails last week, and so you're free to contact them before tonight.
Absolutely, you are so right that Thursday, when that agenda went out, that we had that information, except for the one that we got on Friday.
3 days over the weekend is not enough time.
And
So
no one
maybe we
is,
need to get our agenda packets before Thursday.
No, we need to put it on, you put it on a work session one
you
week.
let us know what
Put
you're
it on the
intending
next
to do, we have
agenda
time to
session.
vet it. And it's the same thing, this is exactly why I brought up about the city's chamber. I wanted to bring that up in a situation where we could talk about it in an informal setting, talk about what I would like to do, see who's for it, see what questions, what issues came up. You brought up several issues that we'll make sure we address in the resolution. And that is what the work session to me is all about. Let's get this stuff figured out so that when that resolution comes up in January, everybody's not surprised that it's on a work session, we're gonna discuss it, and boom, we're gonna go vote on it.
And I think if you look back at our history, I have removed several of my nominations at the request of council to have time to speak to them. Councilman Howard, I have, if you want to go back and watch the videos, they're
We
available
don't
to
need
you.
to go there. I'm just saying
Councilman
that this,
Bender,
this makes an
okay, and
easy,
you don't need to
cohesive
argue with
working
me,
group.
and I'm giving you my opinion, just like you're giving me your opinion, okay? If you
Well,
don't need to
I
cut
mean,
me off.
It's very simple. In order for council to vote on it, or each councilman can make their decision on whether they're gonna vote on a appointment if we do not have a conversation or work session. It's just that simple.
Well, when we brought up every appointment tonight, every nomination tonight, there wasn't one single question about any of the applications.
You're absolutely right.
Right?
So that tells me that you're not really considering the applications and what you have planned tonight. So anyway, moving on, city manager evaluation. We have always used the same city manager evaluation here in the city. I copied it for y'all. The contract doesn't require us to do an evaluation, but it is helpful. If you guys could please complete the evaluation and return it so that I can compile one to give to the city manager.
And I would like to make a point. I've screwed up on this one, I promise. I have a different, evaluation that I would like considered, and I was supposed to have emailed that by now. And I thought, I heard it last night, and something else got on my way. So I would like to, I'll email that to everyone tomorrow, because it's on my home computer. And, if you'll just take a look at that.
Well, I'm asking that this be returned back to me so I can give an evaluation of the city manager before the December 31st.
Did you send us that one?
Yes, I will.
Everybody have one?
Mhm.
Councilman Howard, do you have one? Moving on, strategic action agenda implementation committee update. Since I believe this was probably aimed at me, I'll go ahead and answer it. The strategic action committee was formulated in 2012. We also called it the economic development implementation committee. And that was after the Market Street initiative report came back. We had the Market Street committee, and then we added some members to that. We met routinely for 2012, but the committee itself as a whole, I don't believe has met since probably late November 2012, maybe October 2012. Several of the committee members resigned, just stopped coming, or moved. We had on the committee existing members was Dustin Green representing the hospital. He moved. Former Mayor Jerry Overholtzer resigned. Councilman Witz was a member of that. He stopped coming to the meetings. Councilman Kraus was a member. Kelly Brownlow from the Gwinnett Chamber came. However, she did note that it was burdensome to come to a monthly meeting. Don Britt, representing STAT, never showed up for a meeting. Former Mayor Emmett Clower, Pastor Cantrell never verified his membership. Scott Walker with Walton EMC, Ann Seacrest with Gwinnett Tech, Kirk Bice representing the Art Commission, Gene Baldwin representing the Art Commission, Eric Thigpen representing South Gwinnett High School, Warren Ald was a local attorney, Jim Brooks as the executive director of the Evermore CID. The city manager spot was put on there. I don't believe Mr. Sanders worked for the city when it was first established, and I don't know if he was ever able to attend a meeting. Eric Van Otter attended as our economic development person. Dave Foster was on there from for my appointment. Stan Paul was there for the Convenience Bureau, although he never attended a meeting. Whaley George was there representing Snellville Entrepreneurs Council. Cecil Sellers was part of the initial committee, however, he never came to meeting. Nelson Williams was on there. Fergal Amayo was on there, however, he had a work conflict. Asante was our student representative, she graduated. Dwight Harrison, Claude Brom, and Ben Adams. What we did is, although the group as a whole found monthly meetings to be burdensome, several of the members have continued to work on the implementation of the strategic action plan. If you look, you all had received at the time the Market Street survey, and there was a 1-year plan, and then there was 2 to 5 years implementation. If you look under the 1-year plan from 2012, we have implemented several of these things. Unfortunately, not the first one, although I'd like to see the DDA or URA do this, is to develop a facade grant program. We still need to do that. Number 2 was ensure representatives from the city of Snellville, DDA, URA, and Evermore CID are active participants in Partnership Gwinnett Redevelopment Forum. All of us have started to attend the Gwinnett Redevelopment Forum tours and different events. The third one and the fourth one we are still working on, develop contingency site plans based on potential business sector development opportunities for properties identified as priority sites throughout the city, oversee program development through the Snellville Planning and Development Department. Number 3, survey Snellville's retailers to identify the greatest barriers to success and ways to improve the permitting and regulatory process. That's actually in process. Myself and Dave Foster have been going out into the communities, speaking with the local businesses. The next one is work with Gwinnett County to develop an economic development incentive policy. We did pass that. Councilwoman Krause sponsored that some time ago. The next one, you just utilize Partnership Gwinnett's business retention and expansion, prospect development capacity, and form appropriate strategies for priority Snellville sites. I'll refer to Eric on that one. I'm hoping that's in progress, but I don't think we've accomplished that. The next one is create a one-stop web portal to house all information and documentation. That's the Snellville Toolbox. Develop fast-track licensing and permitting protocols. That was internal through the planning department. Clarify the Snellville sign ordinance. We've done that with the overhaul and the implementation of the new sign ordinance. Ensure that the Entrepreneur Council produces at least 1 entry per year in Partnership Gwinnett's Amazing Entrepreneur Business Plan competition. I do believe that Ms. Rose was a nominee for that this year. That's with the Entrepreneurship Council. Market Snellville is an entrepreneur-friendly community by promoting success stories. I think we've done that through our Snellville South Gwinnett Alliance program and through the articles that we've had in the Business Journal and Georgia Trends. Conduct regular information sharing sessions with Gwinnett County post-secondary institutions to determine possible satellite campus development. That's something, with the implementation committee, we broke down into subcommittees. Principal Thigpen, Glenn Williams, and myself were part of this committee, and that's something we're currently working on. We actually had 2 meetings last week with 2 different post-secondary schools. Promote continued development of arts, entertainment, and cultural offerings. That was through the creation of the Snellville Arts Commission. So we've accomplished that. Convene a committee of local leaders to develop a statement of commitment. We've accomplished that. This council approved the statement of commitment that was made through the implementation committee. Seek to improve minority representation in Snellville offices and key organizations. We're working on that. We had our first African American female run for council, and I've attempted to put up several minority nominations on the board. Encourage delegates from South Gwinnett High School Entrepreneurs Alliance to become active participants in the Snellville Entrepreneurial Council. I don't think any of them have graduated or gotten old enough to actually participate, but that was the first year. We've accomplished all, but I believe 3 of those. We are actually in year 2, and we have also accomplished many of the things that are in the 2 to 5 year plan. I'll just go through the ones we've actually accomplished. Better promote and resource the Snellville Downtown Development Authority and Urban Redevelopment Agency. I believe that, as Councilman Witts just said, the URA and the DDA are finally active. They've gotten off the ground after a slow start. Partner with Downtown Development Authority, Urban Redevelopment Agency, and Evermore CID to evaluate potential developers to engage in redevelopment of West Erie Square. That's something that Mr. Sanders was working on constantly. Y'all saw the update with him and Councilwoman Kraus that met with the developer, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Ensure the city's sign ordinance is uniformly enforced. Again, that we handled that with the reworking of our sign ordinance. Utilize vacant property inventory. Councilwoman Kraus and I think Mayor Overholzer and Dwight Harrison created an inventory of all of our vacant property in the city. I think the DDA also keeps up that list and they monitor it and update it on their city website, so we've accomplished that. Continue to engage Eastside Medical Center and planning and identifying expansion opportunities. Mr. Sanders again had a meeting last week with Eastside. Should the Transportation Investment Act referendum fail to pass, engage Georgia DOT on a regular basis to promote continuous flow intersection then at US 78 and Scenic Highway. We all participated in the meeting with Georgia Department of Transportation a couple weeks ago. Establish a Snellville beautification committee, lead change in maintaining a high quality community aesthetic. Some of our local churches are working on having the Snellville community, like we're 8 days of service with Gwinnett County, they are in the process of working on having a Snellville cleanup day, so that's in progress. Develop a future entrepreneurial talent through programs at Snellville schools. We all know we've accomplished that. Develop a proposal for a startup incubation space to provide non-retail Snellville startups with low-cost shared space and access to resource. We've gotten some preliminary information on that from Eric, but we need to continue to follow through. Form a Snellville United community to regularly bring together leaders of businesses and faith-based organizations. I've started the Pastors Roundtable and then my Economic Implementation Committee. Establish a youth alliance so that young residents feel like they have an impact in Snellville. I meet once a month with students from Shiloh, South Gwinnett, and Brookwood High Schools. Upon completion of its inaugural year-long program in 2012, conduct an assessment of the South Gwinnett High School Entrepreneurial Alliance program. It's expanding, so we've done that. Develop opportunities for Snellville students to acquire skills and training in the city's strongest high-wage sector, healthcare services, as part of the post-secondary efforts that Principal Thigpen, myself, and Lynn Williams are working on. We've partnered with Eastside Hospital to offer some associate's degrees in patient care, so we're trying to take advantage of that. Assess local schools' participation in joint enrollment. That's part of the dual enrollment program we're working on. Continue developing opportunities to host or sponsor events that appeal to international populations with high concentration in and around Snellville, and then harness the momentum created by such popular community events as the Snellville Farmers Market and the Snellville Days Parade. Both of those have been accomplished by staff. And then initiate a comprehensive annexation plan to identify areas where expansion would create diverse development opportunities. I think Mr. Sanders has been working diligently on the annexation areas that we're all aware of. So even though the implementation committee has not met for some time, I'm happy to call a meeting of them if y'all think necessary. I think the individuals in different organizations have been working on that plan.
I would just ask that we, on our retreat, that we put this item on the retreat for discussion.
Other questions?
You mentioned several times that there were several of you that were still meeting. Can you tell us who those are?
We don't have actual meetings. We do communicate, and we are working on projects individually.
So you're having meetings, but you're not meeting.
So we're having meetings. I said we're still communicating with projects individually. For instance, Dave Foster and myself communicated over the telephone, which doesn't constitute a meeting because we're not a quorum. And then I went out and put this together, and we've individually been going to businesses, talking to them, trying to find out what they would like to see here in Snellville.
Would you mind providing a copy of that to the council?
I will. I'm going to share it tonight with you. So I'll be happy to show it to you. I'll be happy to give you a different copy after I share it tonight. Other questions? Board composition and clarification, DDA and URA. Mr.
Mr. Sanders?
We are gonna have both a DDA and a URA meeting in December. And for the benefit of the staff, we would like some clarification. I think we're there on the DDA. I think every seat is filled properly on the DDA, with the exception of Mr. Poles being sworn in. And I think you're trying to coordinate that
He'll be
there.
sworn in on the 19th before the meeting.
Okay. I think Don Goldsmith is maybe considering leaving. He hasn't been able to attend a couple of meetings. Very good, smart businessman. I hope he stays involved. I don't know if he will. The URA is a totally separate matter. I know we have some appointments on the agenda tonight, but we need some clarification on exactly where the URA stands. And I know there have been different actions taken. I'm going to give you a copy of this memo that I sent out several months ago now. Basically, from my research, if mayor and council action is the deciding factor in determining what the board makeup is currently, we have every seat filled but one. It would be on the second page, the final box. If mayor and council action is the authority on the makeup of the board. We do have an unfilled seat. Everyone else would be on the board. Todd Warner would still be holding over after his 2-year term, which expired in 2013. Glenn Kirkland would be properly on until 2021. Mr. Williams and Mr. Harrison would not expire until 2015, and Cecil Sellers would be in a term that would not expire until 2017. I don't know if this is going to take an attorney's opinion, discussion by mayor and council, but we just, as the DDA has taken off in the last few months, the URA is starting to also, and we want to make sure that their decisions have the force of law behind them. If they start voting, we need to make sure who the members are, and that they're legally and properly seated. So we just need some clarification.
I'll be glad to look at it. See if we can figure it out.
Because there was action by the URA, which sent them in a different direction when Mr. Overman gave them a set of bylaws that I guess deviated from what the mayor and council set up.
They were the ones by Mr. Attorney Goldman, they were approved by the mayor and council,
They never were.
and they're not valid, correct?
Well,
Is that right, son? And they have to be ratified by the mayor and council?
It's got enabling legislation. I've got it with me. I can look at it while y'all in the meeting and tell you, but I don't know it off the cuff.
We probably need to know that, when we never know which one we're bringing up.
Yeah, what I remember about URA is there's organizational instructions that go with that. You can adopt where you make your DDA your URA, and we did that. It got changed, but that's authorized. DDAs have a certain term that goes with the DDA by statute, and so you think those issues would be variable based on council action with regard to how they set up and do the appointments and do the terms, because that's really very different from passing bylaws and the group control its own destiny. So, but there are 2 code sections that deal with appointment. Should give us some. I know there is some confusion in there, but we should be able to get some clarification from where we are. And it's necessary that it be perfect. We can't miss with this group because they issue bonds, and when they do, they're putting full faith and credit in the city on the line, so it's gotta be done correctly or it's a problem.
Is there an issue that, Mr. Warner's term has expired?
Now, based on my interpretation there, he still continues to serve until he's either replaced or reappointed.
Right, but one of the issues is not that he is holding over. There's no doubt that he is holding over.
One of the issues surrounding Mr. Warner is the chairmanship.
Right, there's no doubt that, there's no issue of whether he's holding over his term or not.
That's correct.
And there's no issue that there is a vacant seat, but that one seat has never been filled.
There is a vacancy.
New job description, public education officer and payroll.
I'm sorry, can I ask a question? We have 2 URA appointments on the agenda for tonight. It seems to me if we go forward with those appointments, we're just muddying up the waters even more because we don't know what's open and what's not, and what terms are.
Well, there's no, I think the issue is, there's no issue that Mr. Warner's seat has expired and he's holding over. The issue is whether or not Ms. Forbes is, when council voted on Ms. Forbes' nomination, whether, even though there was a vote on that was approved, the issue is whether that was a clear vote or not, and whether that vote should have been voided or not. And there's no issue about the unexpired term, the unfilled term. So what I've taken the position of, instead of arguing council, black and white, shades of gray about Ms. Forbes and Todd, is I've put up 2 nominations tonight, one for Mr. Warner's seat and one for the vacant seat.
Now,
So
but according to
clarify.
this, there's 2 vacancies. So not look at this one, September 12th? Are we looking, what chart are we looking at?
The very last one.
The very last one? That there's one not filled 6-year term?
That's
Right, and then
correct.
Todd Warner's term expired in 2013, so by state law, he serves until his appointment, his replacement is approved.
So your appointments would replace Todd and then fill this 6-year seat?
Butch, do you have more of these?
What do you need?
Oh, you got that, Tom? That's what he just passed.
Job
No, I did not.
It's right next to
Oh,
me.
I'm sorry.
Everybody have one?
The problem that you're identifying is very important. And this goes really back to administrative procedures. The way you implement administrative, y'all are very precise in your code about the order of your meeting. And so y'all got some very precise detail. When you want to do something administratively, you should amend that ordinance and make it part of your ordinances as to the procedure you're using that you want to require, leaving a variable in there because you can get into situations where you need to waive those rules and move quickly with the meeting. There should be those options on majority vote if you're forcing things back. But when you're doing nominations, you're almost totally void of procedural instruction. So as you go through and think about, well, we want to do a work session, think about we want to do nominations to clarify that process. The problem that came up with the minutes is, I think the mayor was nominating for one position and the council was voting to the other because it was not disclosed. That's deadly.
It was disclosed, I clearly said 2017.
The nominations procedure needs to be precise and say this is what we do. The other thing that is sort of evident from tonight is you've got a nomination, and then the question becomes, okay, what do we do with the nomination? Does it have to be a motion, a second, a vote? And I don't believe that's the case. I think you have a definitional code that says confirmation is the affirmative vote of a majority of city council. So that is the triggering event. You've got nomination by the mayor and vote by the city council for confirmation. It requires a majority vote. But you need to be precise, and it doesn't require, you don't turn people down. You either confirm them or not confirm. So it's a one-sided vote. Is there enough votes of a majority of council present to confirm the person? And you either do or you don't. And so it's not Yes, no, you don't turn people down for confirmation. It's either they got the affirmative vote or they don't get the affirmative vote. It's not a motion thing. Now, your code just defines confirmation. It doesn't give you the procedural background for the detail that you need to identify the post. You should identify the post, make it very clear who's being replaced, so that everybody's on the same page. Mayor was trying to identify it by end date, council was identifying it by person. There was definitely confusion in that, and that needs to be.
There are no posts for the URA, so maybe that's something you need to go back and correct.
Right, right.
Alright, job descriptions, is this something we should discuss
No,
in
these are,
public?
these are just, this is information. These are administrative changes that we have made in the staff with the abolishment of the HR director's job. We now have a benefits and payroll coordinator / financial clerk. These are the job duties. That is Gabby Downs. She is working into the job very, very well. I think Melissa would agree with that. Doing a very good job. And with the hiring of Brian, we also have the PIO with a grade, a salary range, and a list of duties. So I'm just making you aware that this is going into the personnel handbook.
Does this require any extra? No? Good.